Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to another
Creeflo Dollar.
exciting episode of Creeflo Dollar, or whatever his name is.
I think it's an interesting name.
It is.
I've heard of Creeflo.
Yeah, I was thinking of looking it up to see if maybe he changed it. Anyway, my wife is watching. I don't watch that.
What's that one guy? I think he's in Cincinnati. He's real screamy. Phil something. He's
I don't know.
a preacher, but I'm like, oh my god.
Well, people, okay, some people, now I'm not going to go into all this stuff because neither my wife or I need to be,
Harassed.
Yeah.
And I'm not going to put up with your shit.
But what I want to say, because I was thinking about it, I noticed what she was watching. I was watching something online. I noticed what she was watching, and I thought, and because of a comment that I made on Facebook, my wife went to church tonight. Sometimes, guess what? I'm an atheist. I go with her anyway.
And it doesn't kill him.
Yeah, it doesn't kill me. I don't go that often.
The preacher almost, I think, he almost killed him the first time.
So, what I want to say is...
He went in shock, kind of.
Any of the fake atheists, the Atheist Plus, the New Atheist, anybody else like that, and I know, look, some of our friends, both in person and online, are atheists, but they're not a-holes. Okay, the Atheist Experience, the Madeline Murray O'Hare types. Look, because of what my wife is going through right now, no matter what, I'm supporting her. If she wants to go to church, if she wants to watch this guy, to me, I was once a Christian. It was, it was like the center of my world. And that's, I think, because it was so important to me, I think is one reason it took so long for me to give up religion.
Oh, that's who it is.
Oh.
Phil Parsley.
Oh.
He has a very funny name. He's named after a vegetable. His last name is. I think that's his name.
They use him as a garnish on food.
No.
I wanted to go to seminary at one point in my life. I actually knew somebody who was a minister, Presbyterian minister.
Now, what all religions have you been?
Southern Baptist, Amish.
Southern Baptist? I was Baptist when I was a kid.
Southern Baptist, Amish. I was New Order Amish, a.k.a. Beachy Amish, a.k.a. Amish Mennonite. They have cars and air conditioning, but we weren't allowed to roll up our sleeve. We were allowed to take the cuff and roll it up once. And some fellowships wouldn't allow it. Yeah, can you imagine in Texas? And especially if you're out there...
Like boiling like a potato in the sun.
Yeah, you have to have your collar buttoned all the way up here. I mean, your whatever. So Presbyterian. Well, I went to a Presbyterian church, but I wouldn't say I was Presbyterian. But a friend of mine was a Presbyterian minister, and he was going to help me get into seminary. And I didn't even have a college degree. I don't have a college degree. I went to college, but I'm like. Anyway, I won't get into that. But I was a history major, by the way. But I'm going to be there for my wife. I'm going to support her. She and I don't agree on everything. No two people on the face of this earth agree on everything. And when, you write a book that's supposedly about non-belief, and then you put all this stuff about Marx and Engels and Lenin and stuff in there. Don't tell me you're not a state theist. When you define, when you replace religion, the church, a sky god, a synagogue, a mosque, whatever, with government, then guess what? You're a state theist. Pure and simple. I don't have to believe in a God to go to church with my wife. It's not going to hurt me, I can tell you that much. Not going to melt or something.
I hope not. We're going to have a mess on the floor.
Yeah. I mean, look, okay, once I picked my wife up, I know it was from the hospital. I don't know if she had an appointment or what, but
Rod Parsley. That's him.
And I didn't have Free Talk Live on, but I had that same radio network or whatever on. Look, Ian, I love you. I love you to death, but there's a limit of even what I can take. When you get people on, what is it? Freedom Radio Network, Liberty, maybe LRN, Liberty Radio Network. Maybe it's LRN. I'll have to look that up, and I'll try and provide a link.
What frequency do they broadcast on here?
I don't know. I think it's like low power, so we can't get it out here.
I couldn't tell. Oh, well, I was trying to get it when I was in town, but I'm like,
But Free Talk Live is a great show. Don't get me wrong. Ian, I believe, is an atheist, but Mark, who is the co-host, he's not. He's another denomination, fellowship, whatever that I looked into once. He's Quaker, Religious Society of Friends. He's a friend. Mark Edge. Yeah, he's a Quaker.
I was surprised when he said he was a Quaker. I'm like, he didn't really appear to me as a person who would be.
Quakers are actually very liberal.
Quaker. I mean, just to see him, you know. I mean,
yeah, because he sometimes wears a kilt, but so do I.
Not very often, but
no. If I had a utility kilt, I'd wear that almost all the time, unless my wife was like, "Don't wear that." But
ooh, sexy legs. Yeah. When did you wear it? Like it was in
here,
March or April, when we got up here, and you about froze your.
Yeah, my legs. Yeah. But and you know, for those who don't know, you know, I went. Yeah, like I said in a previous video, you know, like I was waiting for a cop to try and say something to me about this, and I was going to say, don't you ever try to take a redneck's gun away from him. Ever. You're making a mistake there. And look, for you losers who claim to be atheists but are really state theists, calling me a redneck is not an insult. Maybe to you it is, but see, you're actually a redneck. If you actually look at the origin of the term redneck, you're the redneck, not me. I don't wear a red bandana around my neck. I'm not a communist. I'm not a socialist. I am not a state theist. I'm also not a mine worker. So you're talking about yourself, buds. But then that shows how much you know. And you don't know as much as you think you know. So anyway, what I'm trying to say is, if any SOB goes after my wife about her belief in a God, I'm going to kick your a-hole. I
don't do it first.
I'm going to tear you up from one end to the other.
Because you more than likely will face a weapon, a deadly weapon.
And, you know, this is my wife. I'm her husband.
I'm not putting up with any of your damn BS.
And there's something called respect. And what I was going to say earlier was, on Liberty Radio Network, I think that's what it is, it wasn't Free Talk Live that I was listening to. It was another show. And there were people on there, and that's when I picked my wife up. And they were, oh my gosh, they were going on about atheism. The way they were attacking religion, though. See, I don't attack religion.
He knows not to.
Well, I mean, it's like, why? Why bother doing that?
Well, he does to keep peace in the house, too.
Yeah, but I mean, I
respect for other people.
Yeah, I respect other people. I'm not. Okay, yeah, I attack the fake atheist out there, but
You're fakes.
Yeah, you're fakes.
And don't try to deny it.
When you replace religion, synagogue, church, God, whatever, with the state, then you're a state theist. You've replaced one for the other. You haven't actually stopped believing in a God. You've just changed the God. It's like going from Christianity to Islam. You know, you've just changed the God. Now your God is the state. Some good examples. The courts. You know, you look at religious language and you look at legal language. Very much the same. There are edicts. There are judgments. You're allowing a human being, i.e. the judge, and or people, several human beings, the jury, to make decisions saying that you're right or wrong. Well, I know what right or wrong is. I seriously wonder if some of you know what right is versus wrong, because you lie about what you're, you know, and it's, look, Fidel Castro, Che Guevara, they lied. It's common within state theism to lie about your true beliefs. They lied, saying they weren't communist until they took over. Then they admitted what they were. And that's what a lot of you are doing. You don't want people to... See, I'm an atheist. I have friends that are atheists. I've had friends that have been kicked out of atheist organizations because they were capitalist. Oh, no, you're a capitalist. We don't want you here. Get out of here. Oh, you're a capitalist. Oh, well, you know, you don't like state theism, so you must actually believe in a God. No, I don't. You do. You believe in the God of the state. I mean,
fun.
Yeah, I mean, I've given some examples. Like I was saying, the courts. You know, the legal language is very much like religious language. It's very similar, and you're saying that people in these positions of power can make decisions for you, can make laws for you. I thought you knew right from wrong. If you already know right from wrong, you don't need these people making laws for anybody. If people know right from wrong, and most of them do, then you don't need anybody making any laws. You already know what to do and not to do to people. Simple, common sense, easy to figure out. Yeah.
You sound like the cat.
So, another example is I pledge allegiance. You're pledging allegiance. That, to me, that's no different than saying a prayer to a God, pledging allegiance to a country. You're a state theist. I mean, you know, do I need to keep giving examples? I already gave the example of the origin of redneck. Rednecks were mine workers in West Virginia who were communist. Now, I don't believe all union people are communists. My father was a union man. He would not cross the picket line. He got fired from jobs, civilian jobs, because he refused to cross the picket line.
It's not a crime.
Mm-hmm.
No.
And not all union people are communists. I'm not saying that, because I just want to make that clear. But what I'm trying to get at is the original rednecks, where the term comes from, were West Virginia mine workers who were organizing, and they wore red bandanas to signify that they were communist. Now, being a member of a union or not a member of a union, you know, has nothing to do with if you're a communist or not. Like I said, there are a lot of non-communist union members, and there are a lot of communists who are not union members. You know, and my father got fired from civilian jobs because he refused to cross the picket line.
Well, toughy.
Yeah, but he knew that he knew what was going to happen. I mean, it wasn't. You know, I mean, your dad was union.
Yeah. You call him a communist and get whacked in the head.
Yeah, I mean,
knock you on your ass.
Yeah, I mean, but my dad was military, but there was a period of time before he went in the military that he was a union man, and then when he was in active reserves and civil service. He was Union. He was a stoker, a ship's engineer. That was my grandfather, my father's father. And just thinking about my dad. He was a good guy. You know, I'll tell you something else. My dad, even though he was a career Army officer, after he did his tour in Vietnam, he resigned his commission. He saw how the Vietnamese were being treated, and he did not like that one bit, and he resigned it. He refused to be a part of that. And you know, this guy had served in World War II and in Korea. My wife's brother served in Vietnam. Well, served in Thailand, but during Vietnam. Yeah, and I lived on Okinawa during from 67 to 72. Let me tell you something. I saw a lot of stuff back then. You see the videos that I made about Okinawa. That's not the tip of it. You know, I mean, I guess to some degree, you know, you have my life experience, because you know, I've lived in several different countries, always as a local. Look, if an American would have come up to me in most of these places, to me they would have been a foreigner. I wasn't a foreigner. I spoke the language. I knew the culture. I was a part of the culture. I lived there. I did not live on a military base. I did not live in military housing except at the end for maybe a year or two. Before that, it was always a local. I spoke the language, ate the food, you know, whatever. Now in Spain, I will tell you this: my parents were Protestant. Although my dad actually, his dog tag said nun or something like that.
Oh, he was a nun?
For religion, I think his dog tag said nun or something. But other or none or something. I don't remember. Yeah, if he was a nun, that would have
really threw him off. What?
You know, back in those days in Spain, understand, I am from the Spain of Franco. So I've seen the state at work. See, fascism and communism are the same thing, people. Remember that Fidel Castro admired Francisco Franco.
Fidel?
Yeah, he admired Franco. There are a lot of reasons for that. Please don't think they're not the same, because in fact they are the same. Fascism, during the early days of fascism, the 20s, the 30s, the 40s, was not seen as a right-wing idea. It was a it was just another form of socialism. That's all it was. And just because Marx said his ideas were scientific doesn't mean they were, because they weren't. And you know, the fascists said their ideas were scientific too. A lot of philosophies and things of that time period in the 1800s on into the early 20th century claimed their ideas were scientific, and they had nothing to do with science. Marx was an idiot. He was a liar. He picked and chose stuff. Haven't you actually looked at not just what he said, but looked at his sources? He picked information out that was way outdated. He ignored entire studies and whatnot. And that you actually fall for this idiot. He was an idiot. He lived off of Engels and other people. He was an idiot. He didn't even take a bath. I mean, he looked like he was African, of African origin. And his children said that. You know why he looked that way? Because he didn't take a bath. He looked dirty. Because he was dirty. So he had a very dark complexion. He looked black. He wasn't, but he looked it. And that's because he didn't take a bath. And everybody around him said he stunk.
That's
bad, yeah.
Rough.
You know, I mean, look, my mom's family, back in the day, you know, it was, you take a bath once a week. Yeah, but
Well, I could see him trying to get the water. I mean.
Yeah, I mean, where my mom grew up, I mean, they had to go outside to pump the water from a water pump, hand pump it.
And then heat it on the stove.
Yeah, yeah. So, you know, it was really, to take a bath was a
ordeal.
Yeah, it was an ordeal.
Not exactly the easiest thing. Don't go in there and turn on the faucet. And
yeah.
They would have fell over a heart attack probably.
Yeah, and some places in Europe, you know, I mean, when I lived there, people didn't take a bath every day. They'd take a bath maybe once a week, maybe once every 2 weeks.
Washing a bowl of water with a bar of soap. Or
yeah, I mean that was the easiest way to take a bath. Was you had the vase, a vase, with water in it, and you had a wash basin. You know, sometimes you'd have 2 wash basins, and that's how you took a bath. Okay, you basically a sponge bath. You're giving yourself a sponge bath.
Scrub hard.
Yeah. Now, my dad was from an urban area. The house he grew up in, they called it a war house. Well, actually, the house he grew up in may not have been a war house, but the house they moved into was a war house. And look, I'll tell you something else about my dad. He had friends that he grew up with whose parents were from Japan. And that's why my dad spoke Japanese. It was because he knew people that were native Japanese speakers. And then the war came. What happened to that family? That family was told, you either move to the interior of Canada or you go back to Japan. These kids were not from Japan. The parents were. The parents. The kids knew nothing of Japan. Well, guess what? They went to Japan. They're like, well, you know, if you trust us that much, then why should we bother staying? So they went to Japan, and guess what? 2 of the boys served in the Imperial Japanese Navy. Interesting that my step-grandfather was on the battleship Texas, and may very well have faced those 2 boys. Of course, they were all boys at that age, you know, back then. I mean,
I think I'm freezing my arm off a little. It's
so,
not hurting, but it's just kind of cold.
So I've given some examples of what's, you know, how evidence to show that you're state theist and not really atheist, because
they're going to love you for it.
Yeah, and you're going to try and say all sorts of BS. I don't want to hear it. Don't bother unless you can disprove what I've said, and you can't because you haven't done it yet. Then don't bother. And if you say anything, I know you won't come here in person and say it to my face, because I'll kick your ass. Excuse my language. But you go attack my wife because she has faith in a God. I'm going to kick your a-hole. And I'm going to kick it up and down the street. And I don't think the local cop is going to give a you-know-what about it.
He'll probably help.
Yeah.
He doesn't like you people.
Yeah. I'm going to tell you, you're outsiders.
Especially when you come in this town and cause trouble, you're going to be in big, deep shit.
Because this is our town, not your town.
It's his town.
Yeah, it's his
He
town.
likes it here.
Yeah.
He likes his peace and quiet.
Yeah. So,
you upset him, you're a dead duck.
That's all I have to say. I'm going to end this because you don't
You're
need
in such a good mood.